Good morning. Just getting all wrong button. Press select, comment pinned, etc. Alright, put this hidden away. Alright, so welcome to my morning study. I am Peter SAKIEVICH. I'm an art professor, artist, and I teach at a university, but I also teach online at myartprofessor.com, where I help students. Well, yeah, students have a lot of times have a hard time with certain subjects in art, and my goal there is to help them with those more challenging parts to make them a lot easier to use and more applicable, so that they don't have any limits on their expressive capacity. So in the morning, what I like to do is get up. Usually first thing in the morning. I'm a little bit behind today. I slept in, which is pretty rare. A little bit. So 6 instead of 5. And anyway, I like to do the first thing in the morning. I spend about an hour and a half working on some kind of study project. So currently I've been working a bunch in Blender, trying to get down specific elements that I feel like I would like to improve at. So one of them was material shaders, which I didn't really live stream that much. But lately I've been doing some sculpts. I just finished one not too long ago, and I'm working on this one. And the goal with these is to kind of go through different elements to become more fluent and in them, so that I can sit down and do what I want without too much trouble. So in these cases, it was in the last one was to do the sculpting, use the tools, on UV wrap, decimate the model down to smaller size, and reproject the details onto that smaller model. Then do the UVs and texture it. So that was the last one. This one I'm doing, I want to do a full creature, and in addition to those other things, I want to try out some of the ability to put hair on him. So we're not quite there yet, so I'm still sculpting him. And as I've been kind of getting set up here, I've been looking at what I need to do next. And one would be, of course, adding in his tail. Don't have on here yet. I feel like this lower leg is just a little long, based on my reference. So that's the thing I should fix. It's just like it's a little bit long, and then I want to move up here to the forelegs, and then these eyes are just a little too kind of thin in where they're at, so I think you need to push back a little bit, or the eyebrow kind of forward a little bit. So whenever I sit down to work, I like to come at it with some kind of plan rather than just starting to make a bunch of marks. And usually those things involve trying to determine, what my larger issues are that'll help me come to a conclusion a bit more quickly. So, so that's what we're doing today. So I definitely up the geometry level on him. It's been remeshed down quite a bit. May lean into this Dino Topo stuff soon. especially get back to the face. But and then I've picked up a new plugin called Quadrimesh. It's different than the Quadrimesher, and it's supposed to work a lot more similarly to ZBrush's ZRemesher, which I am familiar with. So planning on using that for this. And yeah, so I think we'll start with the big thing I thought was biggest, probably this leg right here. Just looking at it, like it feels like it's too long compared with the thigh, or I guess this is the thigh up here. This is what we would call the foot, like this would be our heel. And the bones back here. So I think this needs to go up. So we would go into select this first. Layer in sculpt mode, so we just need to select this area. And here I think it's a good spot. I'll Control I to flip it. And I think if we're using this, we should be able to soften that back a little bit. And then grab this guy, and then I forget exactly how you unhook that so you can put that where you want it to be. I think it goes where the 3D cursor is. I need to look into how to properly move this guy around. I want to transform tool, orientation. So well, that's what we're working on today. So. That should be good. That feels much better already. Should we remesh that? There we go. There, that feels better. I think it probably still be a little wider. I think back to be wider to a certain degree. Right there. Look at this leg. It's a really good shot of that silhouette. So I guess this way. That's okay. Maybe this could be narrower in here. So yeah, just working through fixing up some of the things that I feel like could be a little more clearly articulated. Typed up in the front there. So yeah, that's what we're working on this Sunday morning. It's been about an hour and a half, so it looks like probably about 9:30 my time. And let's see, I think that should be rolled up a little bit more up front. Knock that back and bring that out. I like these kind of chisel brushes for cutting back in. So okay, right here, like that should probably be wider. I'm thinking my breath is kind of spinning it around to a view. I think helps me see what's going on. That needs to come down. Trying to match that relative silhouette. Okay, that hook needs to go back. So this makes more sense. Would be the hook into contact with the ground, right? Yeah, so last time we spent a bunch of time working on this back leg. So now we're just going to go through and touching it up based off of fresh view from a couple days ago. So yeah. Let's see. Let's see how that works over there. Better. The art should be a little bit more dynamic. So yeah, that's what we are doing today. Working on this. So again, like I always like to set sort of, I guess, limited goals. I guess would be a good way of talking about it. When I set up for one of these sessions where it's like, I want to get this done, like this is a big computer there. This inner thigh over here on this guy. Let's see, make sure it's grabbing only the front. Looking at this inner thigh kind of silhouette inside of here. And then this kind of goes like that. Yeah. Alright. That's why it's important to kind of look at different views, right? Right? It's important to get many perspectives on things. So, let's see. Push that back further. So the question often arises kind of like, why bother with this kind of thing? Why deal with these kinds of studies? And I think, incredibly valuable, because I look at this and I'm like, I didn't think about how this leg would actually properly work. Like how do the sinews, how do the bones emerge in between? And I really believe in looking at and studying the real world, because that kind of feeds you a level of depth that your own imagination can't quite get to. And so by doing any of these kinds of examinations, you're just going to kind of naturally acquire that kind of experience. Otherwise, you're just relying on the things that you kind of come to assume. And if you just do that, then you're often end up just kind of making the same thing over and over and over again, rather than coming up with something unique, or maybe a better word would be authentic. Because there's so much depth in the structure of the real world that it's impossible for our minds to truly grasp at it. And so by doing these kind of things, or life drawing, or any of these other activities, you kind of embed that reality of the world into your work more and more and more the more that you do it. And then you're looking for opportunities to use it in the things that you want to accomplish for yourself. Is kind of the next phase of this kind of project. But I also think it's a good idea to kind of have an ongoing project where you're always kind of studying something new, just because there's so much to look at and to understand and kind of bring in to yourself, that you can continue to do that for like the rest of your life and never ever kind of run out of those things. It's one of the sad things about people that get sucked into the generative AI trap. Is it operates off this kind of assumption that the machine can do that. That certainly computer can recall information maybe better than I can. Like it holds all the memory of all the projects I've ever done on my computer. But but it doesn't mean anything to the computer ultimately. It's an undifferentiated mass of information, and it doesn't think about it. It just contains it. And so people thinking that the outputs that they get from AI, or generative AI at the very least, are truly informative, they're really gravely mistaken. They don't understand how it works or what it does, and why and where that information is coming from, and how easily those kinds of things are manipulated. Let's see, there's a good side of this. I could use is like a skeletal muscular diagram. But there's, you know, there's this belief that they're getting something out of it that they're actually not getting, because it looks like it has the same depth as you get from the true information. And it's just a very, very kind of superficial, shallow approach to looking at things. One of the reasons why it's so pathetic, you know, see people really get into it. It's just it's sad because they're like, oh wow, what if I never had to have another thought on my own? What if I never had to make another thing? What if I didn't have to experience or understand anything new? I could just accept what this slop bot has deposited in front of me, like my dog in the morning, right? And I can flip it up a little baggie. So it's interesting too, like how many people their self-esteem requires my acceptance of the things that they're doing. So this article is better down there. Let's see if we can find a review that can help me out. Here. Like, I should be going up more like that. And round it out a little bit. But yeah, so you know, it's an interesting kind of debacle. All kind of dealing with in the moment. And yeah, I don't know the clean answer to all of it. And you know, the long-term effects are somewhat vague. And, let's see, this one go over there. So that's basically the ankle right there. But definitely, you know, moving forward. You know, this is one of the other kind of things that's weird about the whole AI thing. I remember a number of years ago when I was leaving another university and for meeting up with some of the people I worked with. And, okay, that's a better view of that. There. But, as we were leaving Hong Kong at the time. And, one of the faculty, who's a photo faculty guy, he's like, I don't understand why we even bother teaching drawing anymore. Because, you know, like we can just render an apple on a computer and does a better job. He's kind of upset about the photography situation because a lot of product photography had moved to digital rendering at the time. And so he was concerned about that. I could tell. He didn't quite say that, but that's what he was really getting to. And yeah, that was a big area of photography, right? You take pictures of products and make them look nice, and it's important. Things look great. Still think you should take pictures of real products if you're selling real products. But anyway, but his point was like, why do we even teach drawing? Like, we just render stuff on the computer. And that, to me, that just showed he didn't understand drawing at all. That the point of the drawing, of making things, well, you do want a good result at some point, right? If you want to get the finished product, the point of doing the drawings is to discover what happens as you develop it. Well, certainly, it's good to practice, realistic rendering or getting good at perceptual drawing. That's really important. The whole point is not to come up with something what looks like something. The point is to explore that thing and encode that exploration into your surface. If you simply just want to have a document of that apple, then I guess you could just take a picture or whatever. But if you want to have a document of your experience with that apple, then yeah, you want to draw it. Otherwise, you're just like, oh, here is product. Let me put product on table for you. And so that's kind of one of the problems, again, with a lot of the stuff that's going on, is that there's this idea that that the product is, this superficial final result, when that's like, a small portion of the event. And if you look into like how movies have been made, traditionally, that whole process of like, from original script to putting together the right team to the, every little step along the way, makes a difference for that final result that you get. Like, good morning. Just working on these back feet here. So, let's see. Glad you dig it. But so that's the problem. Is whenever you kind of believe, if you believe for a minute that that you just skip to the end to product, that you've actually understood what you're doing, that you've uncovered something. There's a discovery process that happens as a result of making things. especially like this right here. Yeah, so that for me is like a lot of the the questions that we're dealing with modern entertainment and artistic endeavors is this kind of notion that ultimately all that matters is the product, not the production, and it's kind of sad because I've seen a lot of people get kind of caught up in that. They believe that their lack of imagination and skill and sacrifice is going to be made up for by an algorithmic system. When in fact, all they're doing is just kind of undermining, their potential. They're shortchanging. So there's this girl I see on Twitter. She's kind of fallen into this. Please validate my AI experience for me now, as if she's under some kind of pressure from the external world to be an actual artist when really nobody would care. But she built her identity up on serving the chatbot, the spokesperson for Adobe and other systems. That where she could have spent the last few years actually becoming an artist, not just a selector of results. So a lot of detail in his legs. Yeah. Let's see. That. Here. So this is for your muscle squats. Apparently animals don't like to sit still very much unless they're dead. It's one of those things, I guess, right? Let's see. Let's see there. Let's see. But hmm. Push that in. Let's see, the tail's going to come out of here. All right. Good morning. Welcome to my morning study session here. Anybody studying anything in particular these days? Let's see. Inflate. That could be a little smoother. Wrong brush. And ultimately, actually, these need to come into like that needs to go. In. So I think I'm going to try out. Let's see if this works. Let's save first. To basically. See. Get that output. I'm going to bring these in. Yeah. That will be better, I think. So even though I broke the leg in here. A little better angle on that. That's, I've straightened those legs out way too much over time, so. Let's see, flatten there. Alright, bring that in so to alright, let's see. Good morning, good morning. see. Yeah. Alright, let's go up and back. Alright, let's see what's got different view here. Good morning. Welcome to my morning study. About half an hour left. Forward. Let's see. Hi, puppy. What you thinking, Bosch? You know? I thought I was going to work on some other areas, but I ended up spending a lot of time on this back leg here. Good morning. Wrong way. Let's see there. Good morning. There. Hmm. Good morning. But I need to spend a lot of time in the back here refining this leg. So that's what I have been focused on. So, yeah, that's what we're working on today. It's coming in toward the end here. I like to take an hour, hour and a half every morning and really focus in on learning something new. And so that's what we're working on today. Is this warthog right here. So, all right. Hello, Jerry. This is Jerry from Rick and Morty. All right. So I think we're gonna adjust these front legs a bit. Too far in. Let that become a little bit more. And then I'm going to push this forward so that this can come back. Guten Morgen. Wie geht's? Schnell. Kindergarten. Ich verstehe nicht. Meine Papier verlaufen. What else is in my head? Probably something. Wie viel Uhr kommt der Zug ab? Did any of that work? giving this front leg some attention. Yeah, just sitting here, well, standing here actually. I have a standing desk. Well, sort of. It's a large plank of wood that I have attached standing desk legs to. Did that a couple years ago. I kind of wish I'd gone with the four-legged thing, but it was like, it was like twice as much. I was like, no, we'll go with two legs. And it's fine. Like it bounces like a little bit if I push really hard, but I don't know that necessarily it wouldn't do that if I had the four-legged kind. But two legs nice, goes up all the way up here. When I decided to go this route, I held on to my computer chair for a couple months just to be sure this is really working well for me. You see how one leg compares to the other. This one still needs some attention, but I think I need a break from it. Come back to it later. I haven't really spent much time on the feet, especially on this front leg. But yeah, I went with attach these standing desk legs to this. And, it's been a good change. Keep me on my feet for longer. It goes down really, really low too. I probably got one of those like ball seats or something people will sit on. And then I've got a stool chair that I use at my desk, or the desk that I bring over. So anyway, yeah. So not sitting here, standing here at this point. Wrong button. I need to figure out what that hotkey is. I don't want to do that by accident. But yeah, every morning I like to get up, work on a little study project. So currently working on a bunch of Blender stuff. I want to be kind of more Blender fluent. And so if I want to do something in it, I'm not, wondering how do I possibly do that and be frustrated by that. So I've been investing a ton of time into this program to make sure that I don't necessarily have to be an expert, but I do want to be able to kind of sit down and be able to make things that I want to make so that I can use it for other things. Maybe I'll end up using it just for Blender itself too at some point, but that's kind of the main goal here. So that. Front shot. That. But yeah, just a few minutes left, and then be done for the morning. Just get to the top of it occasionally. Oh, Bosh, what do you think? Yeah, it's just till this bottom half of the hour. Move on to other things that I got to get done. One of the things that I like about kind of doing this morning study thing is that it does make sure that I get something done, right, art-wise during the day. I might not be able to get to all the things I'd like to do, but but it does ensure that at least something has been moved forward art-wise. It may not be the most optimal thing, but it is something. I think that's it's like if you're studying formally or informally, like say if you're taking one of my courses at myartprofessor.com or somebody else's. A lot of times it's easy to kind of like fall by the wayside and not really get that much done. But if you work off of some kind of schedule where you're at least moving forward a little bit every day, then even if it takes you longer than it would say in a traditional educational circumstance, you'll find that you'll move forward and eventually be a lot further along than you might anticipate because you just kind of keep doing things. And the more that you just keep moving forward, easier time, not easier, but you'll be surprised as how far you get. You look back and be like, wait a second. A year ago I was here, 6 months ago I was here. Now suddenly, here I am. And that can make a really big difference for getting closer to your goals. I made some big moves on these legs. So I should probably set those eyes to be. So if you get kind of over obsessed with perfect improvement at all times, that's first off, what does that mean exactly? If you're trying to like push for hyper efficiency and everything, it's a kind of a losing proposition where you just kind of get stuck and frustrated because you can't quite do that. But if you set yourself up so that you're kind of constantly moving forward toward that goal, that you want, setting up the kinds of goals that actually lead into success, then again, you'll be quite surprised by where you're at after a period of time. You'll look back and say, wait a second, I was here at this point, and suddenly, even though I'm maybe not as far as I want to be, I'm a lot closer to where, it'll get me closer to my actual goals, whatever those might be. And But so yeah, that's kind of how I try to think about these things. So, like there's a lot of things I'm perfectly capable of that I can work on that are finished stuff. But I always feel like there's plenty of new things that I want to understand, and so like sculpting in Blender was one of them, and doing using some of their other tools in here definitely fall into that category. So the goal today was to work on this back leg, clean that up, move up to this foreleg. I wanted to do some stuff on this eye. Maybe I can still kind of get it fixed a little bit with this. So where's the practice of it? I feel like that's like a little too something or other. And maybe it should be more on the side of the head. So maybe if I pick them up through here. Back. And grab. Mode. That's when they can stick out because the eye was just like way too something. And it may just because when I'm looking at some of them have it kind of more sunk in. Like the middle of the skull really feels like it sinks in here. I think how the eye should be more on the side. That feels better. Those are like the three things I wanted to do. I wanted to get further on this front leg, but there's a lot of stuff to do back here. So when I come back next time, I'll probably review what I did back here. I really want to focus in on this area here. And I need to look up the fur stuff inside of Blender so that way I can get that on here. Looks like I probably need like 3 or 4 layers of it. Is what's along his back, most of his body, and there's a few spots where it gets a little bit longer, like on his stomach, on the side, especially as it goes back. And I do need to add the tail in. So I feel like those are kind of the big things to work on. Push that in, sharpen that up. Anyway, we're going to call it here for today. I appreciate everyone that came in and commented, and I may be back on later today, but for sure tomorrow morning, first thing. And I'll talk to you all later.